Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to our Committee of the Whole meeting. We're thrilled to have so many people in the audience today for our presentations. Certainly start off by welcoming our members of council, both joining us today in the council chambers and on Zoom, our volunteer fire department, and everybody who is joining us in the gallery, and of course our staff. I'd like to call this evening's meeting to order and note the members present. We will begin this evening's meeting with a land acknowledgement. We will begin this meeting by acknowledging that we are gathering on the land that has been inhabited by Indigenous peoples since time immemorial. We would like to recognize that we are in the Robinson Superior Treaty Territory, and the land on which we are gathered today is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe. Specifically, we acknowledge the neighboring community of the Misqueconton First Nation, for whom we have great respect. We also recognize the contributions of all Indigenous people, including the Métis, in shaping and strengthening the community and province of Ontario. Thank you, Miigwech. Item number 2, disclosure of pecuniary interest. Hearing and seeing none, we will move on to item number 3, approval of the agenda. May I have somebody make a motion to approve? Councillor Cannon and Councillor Hoppin seconding. Motion to approve? Carried. We will now, without further ado, we'll move into our delegations and presentations. 4.1, Fire Chief Kevin Sabourin will now start with Fire Department Years of Service Awards. Mr. Sabourin? I'll let you have the honors. I'll start. Okay. So we did prepare a few notes. So on behalf of the Ontario Ministry of Solicitor General and members of council, I'm pleased to present the certificate to David Jennings in recognition of his 25 years of dedicated service to the Misqueconton Volunteer Fire Department. Dave, would you like to come forward? Oh, I don't want to drop it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dave. So please don't go anywhere. Dave began as a volunteer firefighter in 1998 and was appointed captain in 2008. He has selflessly and consistently responded to hundreds of fire calls and participated in thousands of hours of training to ensure our community receives the best responses to emergency situations possible. Dave is known for being an exceptional firefighter and confidant to other firefighters. He has volunteered to serve Wawa and its residents for 25 years. And I'm just going to add, not just for fire departments, but for many other events and services. We are all indebted to Dave for his continuous and dedicated volunteer service. The Fire Long Service Medal and Certificate is an opportunity to recognize Dave, who has achieved a significant milestone in his fire service, and honor his commitment to serving and protecting the citizens and visitors to our community. On behalf of the municipality of Wawa, I congratulate you, Dave, and thank you for your service and your family. Firefighters are truly unsung heroes and are a strong part of the heart and soul of our community. So I know that we can all go to bed tonight knowing that our community is a little safer because you're here. Council is extremely grateful for all you do, giving back to our town each day. So thank you for all of us. And I'll now ask Kevin to make an additional presentation. Dave, did you want to have an opportunity to say a word or two?
Sure. I guess first off, I want to say This is a humbling experience and very grateful for the recognition. First off, I want to thank my family for supporting me through all of this, and without them, it's pretty much impossible. For me, family's always the most critical and important thing. Many nights where the pagers are going off and things are hectic and we're out on the road, people worry and families worry. To my fellow firefighters and retired firefighters, without your support, I wouldn't be here, and I do it because of you guys, and it's very humbling to have all of us here. And last but not least, the municipality, the council, all of the citizens, everything we do to protect this community comes back tenfold in the thanks that everyone provides for us and gives to us. So in closing, all I'd like to say is I'm proud to have been able to serve this community for 25 years. So thank you very much for the recognition, and I'm a proud firefighter. So thank you.
Yes. Joy, did you want to come up as well? Not really, but you will.
Also, from the province of Ontario, they recognize the companion that is with the firefighter. So on behalf of the province, I'd like to present this pin. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all of our firefighters. We will proceed with our meeting, and you're more than welcome to stay, but I will give you the opportunity to leave if you want. Not a problem. For those on Zoom, we're just taking a few minutes to transition into the next presentation. For those of us in the room, we very likely will shut off the lights just so we can view the presentation on the screen a little bit better. Councillor Hoffman, can you shut off one of the lights, please? Perfect. Wonderful. So we will now move on to our second delegation and presentation. Item 4.2 on the agenda is Dr. Jennifer Liu, Medical Officer of Health / CEO, and Mrs. Natalie Carrier from the Algoma Public Health Programs and Services. So welcome. Please proceed when you're ready. Perfect.
I will speak close to the microphone. Thank you once again for having us here this evening. I'm Dr. Jennifer Liu. I'm the Medical Officer of Health for Algoma Public Health. With me is Julia Hemphill, who is the Board of Health member and representative for Wawa, Dubreuilville, and White River. Also with me this evening is Rick Webb, who is our Director of Corporate Services, and Natalie Carrier, who is going to present with me this evening on the specific topic of community water fluoridation, which was requested by Councillor Hatfield. So at this point in time, what I will do is begin with a land acknowledgement, followed by a general presentation on Algoma Public Health's programs and services. The land on which we are gathered is in the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe, the Lillywhook, and Wisakade Wininiwuk. Algoma Public Health delivers services and programs within some of the Robinson-Huron Treaty, Robinson Superior Treaty, and Treaty 9 territories, specifically within the traditional territories of the Mishipcotton, Missinaba Cree, Batchewana, Garden River, Thessalon, Mississauga, Serpent River, and Sagamok First Nations. Algoma Public Health also delivers services and programs within the traditional territory of the Huron Superior Regional Métis Community, represented by the historic Sault Ste. Marie Métis Council and the North Channel Métis Council as part of the Métis Nation of Ontario. We say miigwech to thank Indigenous peoples for continuing to take care of this land from time immemorial. We are all called to treat this sacred land, its plants, animals, stories, and its peoples with honor and respect. We commit to the shared goal of reconciliation. So this evening, my presentation is quite simple. I'll provide a bit of context as to why we're here, talk a bit about APH's budget, which this municipality contributes to, and I'll talk a little bit about what I'd like to call public health return on investment and what we get back for those municipal dollars. So let's start with the context. In Canada, we define public health as the organized effort of society to keep people healthy and prevent injury, illness, and premature death. It is a combination of programs, services, and policies that protect and promote the health of all Canadians. So whereas we like to think of Algoma Public Health as an agency that delivers public health services, in reality, it's the organized efforts of all of us that truly deliver on public health. In Ontario, local public health is organized into 34 public health units. Algoma Public Health is situated in the north, sandwiched between Thunder Bay District Health Unit, Public Health Sudbury and Districts, and to the north, Porcupine Health Unit. There are 7 health units in the north, 2 in the northwest, and 5 in the northeast. There are about 113,000 people in the District of Algoma Health Unit, and we cover over 41,000 square kilometers with 21 municipalities and 2 large unorganized territories. We have offices district-wide, one here in Wawa, one in the Sioux, one in Blind River, and one in Elliott Lake, and a staff of over 150 people. Our services are mandated by the legislation, the Health Protection and Promotion Act, and they're funded jointly by the province and municipalities. Our values and guiding principles have remained consistent through the years, and they are excellence, respect, accountability and transparency, and collaboration. And we recently relaunched and revitalized our strategic plan, which was approved by our board in 2020, shortly before we landed into the global pandemic. And as you can imagine, we were preoccupied with some other priorities during that time. But in the revitalization of our strategic plan, our 3 priorities are as follows. Putting our people first. That's the people of Algoma. We want to advance the priority public health needs of Algoma's diverse communities. Number 2, we want to make a difference. We want to improve the impact and effectiveness of APH programs. And number 3, we want to grow and celebrate an organizational culture of learning, continuous growth, and innovation. So the services we provide, as I mentioned earlier, are mandated by legislation in the Health Protection and Promotion Act of Ontario. This act also states that the funding of the public health system is as follows: that the obligated municipalities in the health unit shall pay the expenses of the board, and the minister, the provincial minister of health, may make discretionary grants. This is provincial legislation. So now let's talk about the budget and the dollars and cents. What do our citizens actually pay? So for 2023, the APH annual operating budget is $19.2 million. Public health programs form $17.7 million. And then we also offer non-public health programming and services which complement our core public health services. For example, there is the Healthy Babies, Healthy Children program that is funded by the Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services. That's $1.1 million. And we have a few other community health programs totaling $400,000. And these are funded through separate funding streams, and they are not subjected to the municipal levy. So for example, Stay on Your Feet services are funded through Ontario Health, formerly the LHIN. We have some nurse practitioner services and some infection prevention and control services as well. So if we break down that $17.7 million of our public health budget, most of the public health programs are cost shared between the province and municipalities, 70% province, 30% municipalities. Some public health programs and initiatives are 100% provincially funded. So of the 17.7 million, about 4.3 million is for 100% provincially funded programming. Right now, this includes the Ontario Seniors Dental Care Program, Northern Ontario Fruits and Vegetables programs, funding for services to unorganized territories, and funding for Indigenous health. The municipal levy is only assessed on the cost-shared portion of the 17.7 million with regards to public health programming. And the municipal portion of public health costs are apportioned amongst the 21 municipalities within the District of Algoma on a per capita basis using the most recent census data. So for the District of Algoma, the municipal levy this year is $40.44 per person, and the total 2023 levy amount for Wawa is $109,000. And the 2021 census population for Wawa was 2,700 people. Based on the 2023 operating budget of $14.03 million, APH's levy for 2023 made up about less than 1% of Wawa's operating revenues, or about 0.78%. If you want more information on our budget, it is available on our website for your review. This particular graph shows the percentage increase in the public health levy to Algoma municipalities from 2012 to the present time. As you can see, during the pandemic, there were relatively higher percentage increases in the levy. This past year, the levy did not increase as per our budget. As the intense needs of the pandemic response decreased, our workforce has been contracting. So for example, temporary staff contracts have been ending. So we know that APH's municipal and provincial funding actually come from the same taxpayer. So it's an exercise that I like to engage in every year to ask, what does the Algoma citizen pay for public health services through municipal and provincial tax dollars? So if you divide it out, our entire budget by the population, it amounts to about $12.99 a month, or 43 cents per day. So you kind of look around and see, well, what else can you get these days for $12.99 a month or 43 cents a day? And it used to be we could get Netflix, but not anymore because you can't get basic anymore, and they raised prices. But we realized you can still get a Timbit a day, 2 on the weekend, because they're 33 cents each if you buy them individually. So 43 cents per day is what we pay. And now I'd like to get at what we get back in terms of public health return on investment. So what does public health do for municipality? On the screen, you'll see the 6 core functions of public health in Canada. That's population health assessment and disease surveillance, where we diagnose and monitor the health of our communities. We do emergency preparedness and response, and we also engage in the 3 Ps of disease and injury prevention, health protection, and health promotion. In the next slide, you'll see a snapshot of our community health profile that was published in 2018. I'm happy to report that work is underway on an update to that community health profile, and that should be released by the end of this year. Where there are conditions of particular importance, like opioid-related deaths and harms, we do surveillance on those particular conditions. And as you can see from this graph, in recent years, opioid-related deaths have increased across the province, but at a much higher rate in Algoma, as well as the rest of Northern Ontario. During the pandemic, of course, we kept track of cases across APH of COVID-19. And as you can see, early on in the pandemic, our cases were very low. Excuse me. And near the end of 2022 was when we saw the spike in Delta, followed by Omicron of COVID-19. Happily, by that point in time, a lot of our efforts meant that the majority of our population had been immunized with both first and second doses of the vaccine. We engage in emergency preparedness and response. Those of you who have been around this summer will, very interesting that our firefighting partners were just recognized in the room earlier. This was a tremendous health issue for many folks this summer as we experienced wildfire smoke and pollution related to wildfire, not only in Northern Ontario, but just from air coming over from Quebec wildfires as well. So APH was certainly involved in amplifying a lot of the news releases and alerts, advocating for preventive messaging for folks who are particularly vulnerable. And as a matter of fact, we're also in the process of working with an opportunity with the federal government to increase the amount of air monitors that we have in Northern Ontario. Because everywhere else in Southern Ontario, you can look at the Air Quality Health Index or the AQHI and see what the number is to know if it's safe to go and do your activities. But in Algoma, there's only one official monitor in Sault Ste. Marie, and we're trying right now to get additional monitors elsewhere in the district that will help get some numbers to everyone district-wide. Public health has been involved, of course, in the pandemic response, as well as other outbreaks that have occurred from time to time. So, for example, a number of years ago, there was a whooping cough outbreak in the Blind River area. The next slide, I just want to really highlight the tremendous efforts, not just of Algoma Public Health, but of all our health partners across the district during the pandemic. About 300,000 doses of vaccine went into ARMS district-wide. We immunized the district twice over and more in partnership with folks across so many municipalities, as well as our First Nation partners. And this was something that tangibly impacted and protected the health of all of our citizens. What else do we do for 43 cents a day? Well, we engage in health protection. Our health inspectors and particularly our environmental health students are there doing inspections of our small drinking water systems. We sample the water at the beach for 43 cents a day. Any citizen can go into a salon or spa, get a manicure or pedicure, head to the barber, get your eyelashes extended, and know that these premises have been inspected by our health inspectors and that they are following proper infection prevention and control guidelines. 43 cents a day also means you can walk into any restaurant in your district or in neighboring communities, and again, be assured that inspections have been taking place in those premises. And it's not just an enforcement piece. Our health inspectors also offer food handler training to operators of those restaurants who are required to be certified. And those courses take place routinely district-wide as well. Of note, inspection results are posted online daily, And if you want to check them out yourself, you're welcome to go to disclosure.algomapublichealth.com/portal. What else do we do for 43 cents a day? Our team also provides a whole spectrum of services that span preconception to birth and cover the full lifespan. We offer healthy sexuality services. We offer contraception, including low cost or no cost birth control, prenatal courses, breastfeeding support. We support pregnant parents and new parents living in vulnerable circumstances, and we support healthy parent-child relationships, all of which are essential upstream preventive actions when we look at some of the downstream illnesses that occur, whether it's substance use or mental health. We support our school community, students, parents, educators, community partners to promote health and well-being. We conduct oral health screening in the schools. We provide immunizations to our school-age children as well as the general community. And as another plug for this evening, we are in the midst of doing a list. 6,000 letters were sent district-wide to parents this past summer, reminding them to get up to date for their kids to attend school. And we've been receiving records and immunizing children all summer long. This is just another reminder that as school gets underway, it's really important that records of immunizations be sent to public health. We work with our municipal partners to create healthy, active communities, whether through municipal policy or the built environment. I'll also highlight that in recent years, since late 2019, the Ontario Seniors Dental Care Program has been a new 100% funded provincial program designed to support low-income seniors by providing free and routine dental services. So to access these services, eligible clients aged 65 years apply for and receive a dental card through the provincial application program. And the coverage includes routine preventive services like hygiene, treatment, denture, and oral surgery services. And then, of course, we do work in prevention, but we also work in harm reduction. A lot of the harm that occurs right now surrounding substance use is not just related to those who are impacted by addiction, people who overdose. There are also infection prevention and control issues related to the sharing of needles, bloodborne infections that can happen. So we are a hub to provide naloxone and clean needles to people who are at risk and using substances so that they can use in a safer manner. In addition to new substances, we continue to do a lot of work with age-old substances such as tobacco. So we do a lot of work in prevention and cessation, such as smoking cessation. And of course, in addition to that one-on-one service delivery, we work at the policy level, so closely with municipalities to again look at bylaws and opportunities where we can protect spaces and people in smoke-free environments. So all of these services represent a cost savings to our system. And in fact, health economists have done a lot of calculations, and we recognize that for every $1 invested towards immunizing children for measles, mumps, and rubella, we save $16 in healthcare costs. For every $1 invested towards tobacco prevention, we save up to $20 in healthcare costs. And every $1 invested in early childhood development saves up to $9 in future health, social, and justice service costs. So that is a whirlwind of the programs and services that public health provides. I'll also note that at the end of August of this year, the provincial government did make further announcements of intended changes for the local public health sector. They made some of these announcements at the AMO conference and subsequently through media release. They include revision and a review of the Ontario Public Health Standards, which lays out our programming and services. They include a review of the funding formula for public health, and in the meantime, they have agreed to restore base funding back to the levels that were provided in 2020 when the cost share formula was 75-25. And from 2024 to 26, they will increase our base by 1% per year to provide stabilization until the implementation of a new funding formula in 2026. Thirdly, they have also created a merger support fund and are financially incentivizing public health units who wish to voluntarily merge. So we know that the province intends to engage with the public health field and with partners further this fall. And as those developments arise, we will certainly keep the board and our partners apprised. And that concludes my section of the presentation. I'm happy to take questions in the interim or move on to the topic-specific presentation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Liu. I appreciate it. I think in the interest of time, I think we'll hold the questions until until Natalie's presentation concludes. So Natalie, I will pass the mic over to you, and we'll get your presentation queued up.
Thank you.
The floor is yours when you're ready.
Hey, hi, my name is Natalie. I'm a registered dental hygienist at Algoma Public Health, and I'm here today to speak about community water fluoridation. So an overview of what we will discuss tonight. So what is fluoride? Community water fluoridation. How does fluoride impact dental health? Benefits of CWF, CWF inequity, and the economics of CWF, return on investment. So as Dr. Liu covered, our APH strategic directions, the strategic direction that best fits with our topic tonight is to advance the public health needs of Algoma's diverse communities. Just touch on the Ontario Public Health Standards. So the public health standards specify the mandatory health programs and services provided by boards of health. Protocols accompany the standards and provide direction on how to operationalize specific requirements. In the case of water fluoridation, the Safe Drinking Water and Fluoride Monitoring Protocol is used by boards of health to monitor community fluoride levels. We will talk more about this further in the presentation. Okay, so what is fluoride? Fluoride exists naturally in the earth in phosphate rock, usually in too low levels to prevent tooth decay. The dental effects were discovered in the 1930s. Brantford, Ontario was one of the first test cities in 1945. There are 78 years of research on safety and effectiveness. Community water fluoridation. It works by exposing the teeth to a constant low level of fluoride. Fluoride molecules create stronger teeth by hardening tooth enamel, contributing to tooth surface remineralization and deterring oral bacteria. Fluoridation of community water supplies is the single most effective public health measure to prevent tooth decay. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has proclaimed community water fluoridation as one of the 10 great public health achievements of the 20th century. The overwhelming weight of credible scientific evidence has consistently indicated that fluoridation of community water supplies is safe. Approximately 7 out of 10 Ontario residents, 71%, have fluoride added to their water supply. So how much fluoride is going in the water? Operators of municipal drinking water systems are responsible to monitor fluoride levels and provide fluoride concentration data based on a monthly average to public health units. The level is to optimize dental benefits and avoid adverse effects. In this little chart on the right-hand side, we have the maximum acceptable concentration, the optimal drinking water level, and Ontario's range is 0.6 to 0.8 milligrams per liter. Public health units follow the Safe Drinking Water and Fluoride Monitoring Protocol 2019, as I mentioned earlier. It meets all quality and purity standards for water additives from the NSF International, American Water Works Association, and ANSI. There are several reputable organizations supporting community water fluoridation, which are reflected in this slide. We have Health Canada, Canadian Medical Association, Canadian Pediatric Society, Public Health Agency of Canada, Ontario Public Health Association, Ontario and Canadian Dental Association, the World Health Organization, and multiple provincial and national dental associations. The problem of tooth decay. Tooth decay and oral pain can have negative effects on children, including lost sleep, poor growth, behavior problems, and poor learning. Developmentally crucial processes of communication, socialization, and self-esteem can also be affected. Tooth loss can affect the ability to eat, speak, chew, swallow, and smile, and is associated with more illness and earlier than normal death. Tooth loss, untreated tooth decay, and moderate to severe gum disease occur throughout the adult population and often worsen as people age. These conditions contribute to impaired oral function and impact social and emotional well-being. How does fluoride impact health? Studies prove water fluoridation continues to be effective in reducing tooth decay by more than 25% in children and adults, even in an era with widespread availability of fluoride from other sources, such as fluoride toothpaste. What is the impact of community water fluoridation in Wawa? The caries-free rate in North Algoma was 61%. So that was in the 2018-2019 school year. So that's the percentage of JKSK students who received dental screening during the 2018-19 school year and presented with no history or current decay. So the flip side to that would be 39% of children entering school have a history or current decay. North Algoma's JKSK caries-free rate includes schools from Wawa, White River, and Dubreuilville. This information is just to give you an idea of the caries rate in children entering school, as sometimes there is a perception that dental caries is no longer a problem or that fluoridation is no longer necessary. Wawa's JKSK caries-free rate for that same school year was 69%. Data collection takes place through annual dental screening in all schools in the District of Algoma. Then we have the population to dentist ratio in Canada. So for every dentist in Canada, there are 1,622 people. For North Algoma, for every dentist in North Algoma, there are 3,976 people. So rural and remote areas across Canada have proportionally fewer dentists than urban areas, making access to oral care in these regions more challenging. The benefits of community water fluoridation, health equity. This population-based preventive intervention contributes to oral health equity by overcoming common social determinants of health, including age, education, income, and access to professional dental care. 35% of dental services are paid out of pocket. Lower income Ontarians are the most likely to report mouth conditions that cause them to avoid social interactions such as conversation, laughing, or smiling. Ontarians with lower income, less education, those with no insurance, and those over the age of 65 are more likely to only visit the dentist in cases of emergency. Among Ontarians who did not visit a dentist, 1 in 5 cited cost as a barrier. Approximately half of Ontarians aged 12 years and over reported having oral or facial pain or discomfort in the previous month. Among older Ontarians and those with lower income and less education, there is a significant drop in dental coverage rates, 36%, 40%, and 41% respectively. Early tooth decay and child surgery, day surgery rates were 8.6 times as high for children from neighborhoods with high Indigenous populations, were 3.9 times as high for children from the least affluent neighborhoods, and were 3.1 times as high for children from rural neighborhoods. So Windsor reinstates community water fluoridation. So in Windsor, Ontario, fluoride was removed from the water in 2013. In 2018, it was reinstated due to a 51% increase in tooth decay in children. Requests for dental assistance also rose by 300% in that same time frame. This is from the Executive Director of Family Services, Windsor, Essex. So we have Montreal area comparison of water treatment areas. So this graph compares DMFT rates. So it stands for decay, missing, and filled teeth for children in non-fluoridated and fluoridated areas in Montreal. As you can see, there's a significant increase in DMFT scores for non-fluoridated areas, the light blue column on the right. So we'll just talk a little bit about the return on investment when it comes to water fluoridation. So every $1 invested in prevention measures like community water fluoridation at the optimal level can yield between $5 and $93 of savings per person in dental treatment costs. By preventing tooth decay, community water fluoridation has been shown to save money both for families and the healthcare system. And evidence continues to indicate that the economic benefit of community water fluoridation exceeds the cost. And so oral health services offered through Algoma Public Health include oral screening, assessment, and surveillance, oral screening conducted for selected grades in schools across Algoma. We have the Healthy Smiles Ontario program. This dental program is available for eligible children, and youth 17 years and under. There are clinical and financial streams to this program. We have the Ontario Seniors Dental Program that Dr. Liu had mentioned earlier. So this is a dental program available for low-income seniors aged 65 plus. And health promotion activities include health fairs, individual oral health instruction, advocacy for public policies and interventions, and collaborating with dental providers. We'll just review some of the key messages. The leading health experts endorse community water fluoridation as a safe, effective way to reduce cavities. Community water fluoridation is an effective public health measure that reduces inequalities in health. Community water fluoridation helps to contain the cost of healthcare in Ontario, and it benefits all residents in the community. Just wanted to say too that good oral health is important for overall health. And that's my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Natalie. I appreciate your presentation. I'll now start with questions for council. Councillor Hoffman?
I just wanted to say, because we were kind of informed that maybe fluoride should be taken out of our water. But after listening to you and seeing this, and especially the part about the what happened in Windsor, I think maybe we shouldn't take fluoride out of our water.
And Calgary did the same thing
Mhm.
recently. They've reinstated the water fluoridation.
No,
With that being said.
no. Well, thank you.
Councillor Cannon?
Hi, can you tell me if over the years you have cut back on the amount of fluoride in the water?
Not that I know of. There's the Ontario range, and it always stays within that range,
It always has stayed in the range?
as far as I know. Yes.
And can you tell me, is Brantford still have fluoride in their water?
I think they do. I do have a list here. They're Brampton, Brantford, but I don't have the whole list, so I'm not actually sure.
I wonder why so many communities now are opting out on the fluoride.
It's a municipal decision usually, but the facts show that it's effective, it's safe, and it reaches all ages of community residents.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cannon. Councillor Opata, do you have any questions, comments? Thank you. Councillor Hatfield, do you have any questions or comments?
What's the percentage of towns in Ontario that have it? Is there more towns that have fluoride than not? Do you know that?
So there's 7 in 10 residents that have community water fluoridation. So yeah, it would be approximately 70% of cities would have water fluoridation.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much. So I thought your presentation was excellent. I am a proponent for community water fluoridation. Certainly, as an advocate and an ally for minority community members, particularly, I feel like this is a very important issue. So thank you very much for bringing clarity around the questions. Dr. Liu, did you have any comments or questions?
Sure. Just to add, I think Natalie demonstrated very clearly the evidence behind community water fluoridation, and further to Councillor Cannon's questions, yes, that therapeutic range. We all know drugs have therapeutic ranges when we take our medicine. Same thing for the community. That range has been consistent and always monitored by the municipality and reported to public health. And as far as the municipal decision, the health recommendation from public health will always be the same. From a pure health standpoint, we recommend it 100%. We recognize that democratic decisions have other considerations. Cost is one of them for municipalities. And we also know that there are groups who may oppose certain interventions for reasons other than health. And there have been, some vocal groups against particular interventions, be they immunization or other interventions. So, for various beliefs, various stances, there have been decisions going one way or the other. I would say that from a health and health equity standpoint, 100% the evidence is there for fluoride.
Dr. Liu, may I ask your opinion? This is I understand the controversy surrounding this topic, and it's a big decision for council to make on its own. For my research, I understand that this issue has been taken to a municipal referendum. Do you have any thoughts around putting this issue on a ballot for the community to decide for itself?
I would certainly say, this type of democratic process is definitely up to the municipality to consider. I would bear in mind that those who benefit the most from community water fluoridation are not yet old enough to vote. They're still getting their teeth. And of course, it's not just children, but particularly people of low income who we know typically are not well represented in the voting process. Those who are particularly well represented are those with particular interests. So I think that is something important to bear in mind too, that whatever decision-making process is used, to make sure that those who may be underrepresented, but who may benefit the most and have the most to lose, if such a benefit were to be taken away, that those voices are heard as well.
Thank you very much. That's excellent points for council to keep in mind for the time that a decision must be made. Thank you. So before you leave, we do have some goose pins that I like to give out for anybody who makes a delegation. So I'll come down to you.
I made it all this way. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Feel free to stand, Andy. You can make yourself comfortable. Oh, well, we have hands free. That's why I'm saying that. You can use a different microphone. Okay. So,
Oh, sorry, Mayor. Been out of politics for a while.
so we will now move on to item 4.3 on the agenda, Mr. Andy Stevens, Wawa Drill Rig Monument. Andy, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. And thank you for this opportunity to speak on the topic regarding the drill rig. I just want to give you a little bit of a background. I've been around for a long time, so I'm not going to go into that history, but just maybe how I would want to give you a few points about the drill rig and some of my thoughts later on about it, just so that you know that I just didn't walk off the street. There's some background history that I have. So I worked in mining for over 35 years. And through that career, I worked and had experience in the management, the repair of equipment and machinery. My background in education, I'm a mechanical technologist. Graduated a few years ago. I recently celebrated my 50th anniversary as a classmate. I am familiar with this drill rig. Unfortunately, it's a long time ago. When I started my mining career, I worked on the drill rig, and so I have been a bit familiar with it. If you look around, I'm sure you're going to see that Argonaut most likely has some of these rigs. They're in a mining operation, and this is common to open pit operations. And for the community, I've been involved trying to do what's best for the community. I worked in various groups, been on the economic development for 15 plus years, and as chair for a good part of that. And currently, I'm on several committees, including right now the Heritage Committee, which also has an interest in the venture that we're talking about tonight. So I just want to give you a little history of how this drill got there. It's a little bit of a mystery. There's some story to it. So going back originally at the Lucy Pit, which just past Sir James, there were 2 drill rigs similar to this one. So I got a call one day from Mike Jennings, who had been in Wawa, had been the superintendent of mining here, was promoted to the steel plant, and the steel plant needed scrap, so we had a call. They were sending up Avery Construction. They're going to take these 2 drill rigs, cut them up, and take them down for scrap to Sault Ste. Marie for the blast furnace. So anyway, looking at that, I thought, well, that would be a great tourist information or tourist attraction for the community. So in the process, for some reason, one disappeared. It kind of ended up at the municipal yard where I think it was Matt Ward was at the time. They fixed it up, painted it, and one night under the sight of darkness, they pulled it up to the current site, and the company sent a crane to put the hoist back onto it, the tower, as we call it, eh? So it's funny because the way I heard about this, I got a call one day from Matt Ward. He remembered me, and I remembered him, but he'd been up visiting and heard about the drill. He asked me if I knew anything about it. No, I said I didn't know anything about it, which is surprising because most people will tell you, I'm not a gossip, but I know most things that are happening in town. So I talked to Maury, sent Maury a note, and then she said, well, why don't you talk to Alex? So thank you, Alex and Maury. So I did that, gave some of my opinions for what they were worth. Just some of the things I looked at is, I think you have to sometimes go back to experience. I know it's always nice to have a couple guys with papers behind their name give you something that gives you confidence that they know what they're talking about. And I think experience sometimes gives you a lot of information that gives you insight. I'm just going to backtrack. I was going to say this later on, but through my career, I faced many, many challenges, most likely in the thousands. And to be a little bit frank about it, I've never failed. And all the things under me, our people have always been successful. There's always an answer. It's usually common sense that prevails. Very seldom we had to have an engineer. If you have common sense and experience, you can usually work yourself out. So some of my thoughts is if you look at a drill rig, it's designed to move back and forth and to drill generally vertical holes. So what those cylinders are used for are normally to hold it steady. Of course, there's a lot of pressure and the holes have to be correct. If they're on an angle, you're going to have a big mess and nobody's going to be happy with you. So I see that there's obviously a crack in that. I'm not sure. There's a couple of reasons that could be there, but it's obviously there's something has happened to it. It could be simple, but the drill rig, in my opinion, which is at about the same angle as the ground beside it, I wouldn't see that's any problem. Most times you're going to see that a drill rig working is going to be on terrain much more difficult than that. Obviously, when you bring in the engineer, now you have the situation where do you follow the advice of two experts that have gone to school for many years and have graduated with a piece of paper, not sure about their experience, but they have the authority to make a registered report. So now we're in a bit of a bind now. In my opinion and experience, it's not necessarily a current problem. Obviously, one to be monitored, which the supervisor is doing currently. Obviously, that's the thing that has to continue. Now that we're in this position, we have to find a solution. The first question is it going to fall over? The tower, Leaning Tower of Pisa, still there apparently. So it's being monitored as well, and that's perhaps where we should go. When we're in the position we're in, it's likely that obviously you're going to have to check with an engineer, but there may be simpler solutions that will kind of modify the problem that appears to be there. Alex has talked to some people that have given him some advice, and I concur with some of that, that it could be quite simple to put some supports that would give you the appearance of supporting the drill rig. So those are some suggestions. So you may want to look at it further and what's happening with that. I'm just trying to go back to where I look at it, and I was going to give you maybe a bit of a look in my philosophical thoughts. So there's a lot of history, and some people say, well, we don't need history. You know, maybe we've got to move on. Things are different now. We don't have to do what we did in the past. If you look at Wawa, it has a proud history of being a mining company. Dedicated to Algoma. They served me for many years and have paid my pension. They put a lot of effort into this community to make sure that it was something that people could come, live, educate their kids, and have a great life. You're going to see, if you look around, you're going to see a lot of the streets are named after old timers. They built the hospital. All the infrastructure at one time was by Algoma Ward. So something you got to remember. Another thing I say in my little notes there, so when you talk to your grandparents, you don't ignore them. You ask them, what is the history? Where did I come from? What's great? History is important, so we have to look at what we're doing. When you look at where it's situated, it was put there for a distinct purpose. It's at the end of the street. It wasn't put down by the TIC Center. It wasn't put down there. It was to take people that see that and say, well, I wonder what that is. Let's go have a look. So it draws you through the community. And as you get through the community, it gives you the opportunity to see what's there, where you can eat, and some of the sites that we have. So those are some of the thoughts you have to look at. So when you go considering what your next step is, look at not just economics, but look at where we are and what's best for the community. And maybe a little bit of caution, you know, sometimes engineers have great advice, and sometimes they too have one view in sight. Well, maybe they should look at review. Obviously, the municipality has the final responsibility for the safety of the community and each individual, and that can't be ignored. The advice I gave you is I don't think it's a safety. Obviously, that has to be visualized and make sure that it isn't a safety hazard. So those are some thoughts. I'm willing to, got any questions, different things that I might have opinions on. I have lots of them. So if you have, just ask me about the drill rig or anything else you think is important.
Thank you very much, Andy. I appreciate your verbal presentation. I'll now open the floor to comments and questions from council. Councillor Hoffman, do you have any questions or comments for Andy?
Yes.
If all three of those legs failed, would that thing fall over?
No. No. If you look at it, where's the center of gravity? It's low to the ground. So if you look, when I said when it traveled, did it fall over when it moved from one place to the other? When we were moving drill rig from a blast, we would move it maybe half a mile. So we would travel with it with no post or hoist down. So obviously it's designed to travel without those. It's designed to be without those supports. You see, if you see a look at a bulldozer, it doesn't have supports on the outside.
Councillor Cannon?
I agree with preserving history, especially in Wawa, because it is a mining town. And you just can't say, well, it's falling down, it's just scrap. We have to find another way, I think, to preserve that piece. Whether it's coming up with a committee to raise money for it, because obviously there is a safety concern, and that has to be addressed first. And we have to go by the engineer's report, because we're responsible for the community. So I think there can be a halfway thing that you can meet both ways to preserve it, but to make it safe. That's my opinion.
Councillor Opato, do you have any questions or comments?
Jim had the same question I had, so I don't have anything else.
Thank you. Councillor Hatfield, do you have anything to say? Councillor Hatfield, you're on mute.
No, just want to thank Mr. Stevens for coming. He answered a few of my questions. I had great concern. The one thing, Andy, I would like to put a bug in your ear. Did Harry Miller not have something to do with that too?
Oh, most likely, but I don't remember that part. But
Yeah,
Harry
he
seemed to
did.
have his finger in a lot of stuff. Yes, he did.
Yeah, he had something to do with that. And I would like to look into that a bit more. Thank you very much, Andy.
Okay.
Thank you. You certainly can, Councillor Hoffman.
So supposedly we're supposed to do something before the snow flies. So I'm wondering if a crib was put underneath that one leg, even like a wood crib, you know, great big timbers, if that would support that rig during the winter. And then, because in our last council meeting, Alec made the comment about, oh, we could tear that one down and we could probably get funding for something different, like something fake, $20,000 to $100,000. And I'm thinking, well, if you can get funding for $20,000 to $100,000 to build something new, couldn't you get the same kind of funding for rebuilding or strengthening this thing?
It's like a fake goose, is it? Obviously, I mean, it could be supported. I mean, again, once you go and get advice from an engineer, your goose is cooked.
Yeah.
Okay? You've passed the stage of being able to view it and perhaps come up with a solution of your own design. Once you get the engineers involved, then you're caught between a rock and a hard place.
So I think I'll chime in here now, Andy. I think I really appreciate your presentation. I appreciate the qualitative aspects that you brought up. And I think you weren't here for when we originally discussed this, but one of my comments to council was nostalgia It can be both, when you do a SWOT analysis, it can be both a strength and a weakness. And I really appreciate the history of Wawa, and I appreciate that what this drill rig represents. And we do have other pieces of mining equipment that are surrounding the Goose Nest market and that do pay tribute to our mining history. But as you mentioned numerous times in your presentation, the health and safety factors cannot be ignored. And while I appreciate the advice that you've given, unfortunately, council can't accept your advice. We have to, by law, accept the advice that is in the engineer's report. And you have said that. You've agreed with that statement. So while we, in our hearts of hearts, we might want to accept your advice, we have a stamped engineering report that we are bound by law to follow. And if we want to go and divert from that advice and implement a solution that doesn't match that advice, we have to do it fast, because if something happens, then we will be liable, and we will be opening the municipality of Wawa to legal risk. And it's our job as councillors to mitigate that risk. And that's something that if we want to really understand further, we can ask the CAO to get a legal opinion on. But unfortunately, that's the bottom line. Whether we like it or not, we're in a legal conundrum. And I see our staff shaking their heads, one who is an engineer, and whether we want to debate levels of experience. Levels of experience don't get us out of court cases. And I know that's not a popular opinion, but again, it's what our responsibility is to the municipality of Wawa and our taxpayers. And I think, are you looking for direction for us today?
Can I just have one piece of advice before, if I might?
Absolutely.
And it refers back to what I said. Perhaps if you used experience, and this isn't to do with the drill rig, perhaps if experience had come in and looked at it locally, where there's a lot of experience, it may, number one, save you a ton of money on an engineering study. Perhaps number two, got you some good advice that remedied a problem or perceived problem.
So perhaps, Andy, but that stone has already been thrown, right?
Mayor, honest, I've said my bit on that. I'm just giving you some free advice of what you may want to do as you go down the future road.
For sure, absolutely. And we can certainly take that into consideration. But for this particular project, that stone has already been thrown, or the stone has already been cast, or whatever the statement is. But at this point in time, to me, you know, I take your points: economics, tourism, nostalgia, history, all of those things I 1000% agree with you on. But to me, it's a legal matter at this point. Will we be opening ourselves to liability? Yes. Are we required to follow the engineer's report? Yes. Could we get another engineer's report? Yes. Would it net different results? Very likely not, but we could. Is there enough time to have a fundraising committee? In my personal experience running those things, I would say no, but that's another option that we could potentially look into. But Maura, I'll ask you, what kind of action are you looking for from us today?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And after the receiving of the delegation, the item is under business rising at a previous minute, so a further discussion could have taken place, which is taking place now, and that's all right. But staff had presented an engineer's report, an Alex's report 2 weeks ago, And the recommendation was made by staff. As the engineer pointed out, there are options, and some of those options in the report are not to disband and remove the drill rig. So there were engineering options put out to repair or fix the issues with the drill rig according to the engineer's report. So the matter, I think, before council is whether council wants the drill rig removed, or one of the other options in the report were basically repair and fix and remain. There were other options about just doing some small modifications and then having the engineer monitor over the winter. But the engineer's report did recommend that council make a decision on this matter, whether to remove or repair as soon as possible, especially before the snow flies. So if we are repairing, those repairs can be done. So at tonight's regular meeting, we do have the motion on, following our practice of a report 2 weeks ago, and then we bring forward the recommendation of council on tonight's regular meeting to accept the recommendation of the director as set out in his report, which is to remove the drill rig, but council can vote nay, and then that would mean that motion is dead, and then an alternative approach. But if you want to continue discussion, it's on the committee of the whole and a resolution on the regular, and you are correct. We can certainly, as a staff, get another engineering report if that's council's direction.
Great, thank you. So I think we'll continue our discussion when
Yeah.
it's further down in the agenda. So, so thank you very much, Andy. Would you like? Perfect, thank you. And Andy, I suspect that you have a goose pin, but I'll offer you one anyway, so you don't feel left out. I feel like you have one though. You probably have 10 of them.
Not the new one, no.
It's about recruiting doctors.
Oh.
Which is a better luck than we do. We're not left out either.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you, Andy. So we will. So we will now move on to adoption of minutes. Item 5.1, Committee of the Whole meeting, Tuesday, August 15th. May I have a mover? Councillor Hoffman, seconder. Councillor Opato, all in favor? Carried. Item number 6, business arising out of previous meeting. 6.1. Alex Patterson, drill rig monument. The floor is yours, Mr. Patterson.
So I'm not going to go through the whole report because we did that last time. Report hasn't changed. I think two things that are important for council, and then I think council needs to have a discussion. Number one, is there are multiple options presented in a report. Those options are all available to council. So we as a staff make a recommendation, but there's also options not presented in the report that if council would like us to consider, we can do that. That comes with additional time to research those options and come back to council. Mr. Stevens is a really brilliant guy, and he helped a ton with this. We had a conversation for probably an hour in my office about this report before it was done. He summarized essentially those points there in that conversation, but I think that those discussions affected the report quite significantly. So in reviewing the options, the price coming down from $80,000 to $40,000 as an estimate was using what Andy called that common sense approach, a little bit of experience, a little bit of knowledge on how that piece of equipment worked. And that was run by the engineer because you need a balance of the two, right? Taking that additional experience that someone had, but combining that with someone with a stamp who can say, yes, this is safe, or no, this is not. So one of my sayings around the office is the answer is usually somewhere in the middle. You have some very differing perspectives. And I think that that is valuable here. So For me as a staff member, what I need from council is direction. So I've given you my professional recommendation that comes from an engineer's report and the research that I have done. If council agrees with that, then I go ahead with that. If council disagrees with that, then I need to understand what exactly council is looking for to move forward. The report, when I ran this additional information by the engineer, did not change. So the report from the engineer said that you need to do something by winter 2023. That something can mean a variety of stabilization exercises, but it has to be something, because as soon as it's not, that stamp on that report is now on us as a municipality. So there are a variety of options here. I've talked to a variety of local contractors. I'm really happy to do exactly what it is that council is looking for. I just need that direction.
So I will open the floor to questions. Councillor Hoffman?
I want to say that I want to see it saved, and like I said earlier, I think some sort of cribbing could be put under it for the winter, and then come spring, we decide if, how we want to go about it. But like, and because you had said previously that there's funding for a new monument. Well, if you can get funding for a new monument, maybe you could get funding for repairs on this monument. Because this thing is real. It's a piece of history. It was used here. It was used to help build the St. Lawrence Seaway. It's history. I don't want to see it torn down.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hoffman. Councillor Cannon?
You gave options. Okay, and the one you're recommending is scrapping it. But you gave another option of removing the drills tower. And that will satisfy the engineer's report to make it safe until we can decide if we can come up with the money, maybe through the heritage. Maybe they can apply for grants. I've seen them do it before. And I mean, Timmins was just successful, their heritage for the train and the storyboards. So maybe something can be done, but we do have to make it safe first. So, I mean, I think that option is a kind of meeting in the middle. And you said that would cost between 10 and 15,000?
In my experience, yes. I don't have a physical quote in my hands that guarantees that, but having gotten a crane from Sault Ste. Marie multiple times in my career, that would be an expected price.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cannon. And perhaps if we did go that option, perhaps we can look to one of our mining friends for crane assistance. Councillor Opato?
Kathy, I like her idea.
Councillor Hatfield?
Well, when I first heard, I wanted it scrapped because it scared me. I got 2 phone calls from Wawa here in Thunder Bay, and I did call Mr. Stevens and asked his opinion, and I have changed my mind. I would like to see it fixed for the winter safely with an engineer's stamp, and then I'd like to see it worked on. It really means a lot to a lot of people. Thank you.
Councillor Patterson. Alex Patterson?
Okay, so if I can summarize, if that's okay, it seems like most of council would like to see that unit saved and preserved. So if the direction of council is do what you need to do for the winter, because for example, if cribbing would work, or if some type of more temporary solution would work instead of bringing a crane up to take the mast off, if I get that direction of do what you can do for the winter, and then find funding, you know, we'll put an item in the 2024 budget for like subject to funding for a repair for the unit, which I'm going to include painting in it as a preservation method. Would that be a reasonable direction of council?
I believe that would be a reasonable direction of council.
Okay. The temporary stabilization of the unit is something that we don't currently have in the budget. So how do I do that, Maury?
That was my question.
Mayor, the director would make a recommendation to the CAO. If the funds are under the purchasing policy guidelines, then I would work with the treasurer to find the money in our 2023 reserves. We do have reserve funds that are set aside for emergencies like this. If it's a substantial amount, I would come back to council with a motion. So I think that what I hear echoing Alex is that council would likely approve any expenditures required to do some temporary stabilization over the winter, and we will report back to council regardless of the cost, but I do have the authority up to a certain amount to approve, and the money is available in the reserve, so I don't see it as an issue.
Can we put an upset limit on it?
Yes.
Can we put an upset limit of $25,000? I think that was something that, or
I think maybe 50 would be reasonable, just so we don't have to come back to council if it's 30. But not sure what the budget.
Feel like it to come back to council, even if it's more. Like if it's more than 50, then come back to council and see then what our options are.
I have the authority under the purchasing policy to make emergency purchases on behalf of council. I would deem this an emergency because of the time frame, and absolutely come back to report to council. That's part of the policy, to report on what's done. So there are ceiling limits in the policy. I'm not sure you need to set one, mayor and council, tonight. I think we'll use our best judgment and not overspend, and certainly not spend any amount that would be excessive in light of the fact that there'll be more money to spend in the future and next year if we wish to repair.
perfect. Thank you very much. Councillor Cannon, I'll just remind you that all comments go through the mayor. Thank you. And Alex, if we can just make sure that anything that we do, it really does need to adhere to or the engineer's report. So if for whatever reason, whatever temporary fix that we do employ does not, then it needs to come back to council.
Something without a stamp on it, then it's on me. So whatever we do, temporary conditions or not, even something like a lifting plan for this would require some type of engineer stamp.
Perfect. Thank you. So we will now move on to item 6.2, Alex Patterson, Tourist Information Center, Highway Corridor Maintenance. Alex, the floor is once again yours.
So I'll summarize this report. This report came from a council request to see that corridor maintained. I did some investigation as we discussed either informally with Councillor Hoffman or generally with the group, and came up with a couple options for council. I was able to get a hold of a main contact at the MTO, as well as the contact for, it is now Ledcor doing highway maintenance. As council knows, the maintenance shifts every couple years, and was able to make some headway with them. So what I'm recommending in this report is that we issue the MTO with a formal request from the municipality of Wawa, i.e. council, to maintain that highway corridor on a regular basis. Monthly was my example, though we could ask for more than that. And both the MTO and the contractor indicated that that would be a pretty reasonable request to do, because it satisfies a whole list of issues, not only the health and safety consideration for our staff, but the fact that we would not be working on our own property, and the other things that I identified in this report. I think that is the best option. If that option fails for whatever reason, I would come back to council. But there are other options in here, including purchase of equipment that are relatively small time purchases, that would be better than the original system that we had. So primary recommendation would be to contact the MTO, as it is their property, and ask them to maintain it. And then there are some secondary options if that does not work for whatever reason.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hoffman, do you have any questions or comments? Councillor Opato?
It's neat that you got hold of the MTO. I hope that works for us.
Thanks.
Councillor Cannon?
I agree. Working with the MTO, and let's see what they say. I mean, it, like you said, it is their property, and let's see if they're willing to help. We might as well Let them do it.
Councillor Hoffman? Please use your microphone.
I like what I heard, and so I'll let you see what the MTO is willing to do, and if they don't follow through, well, I'll be back at you.
Fair enough.
Councillor Hatfield?
So Alex, I'm to understand that what you're talking about is the ditches on the highway?
That's correct. So the ditches from the intersection of Highway 11 and 17 right through till the arena on Chris Simon Drive are all MTO property. They're part of the right-of-way of Highway 101. And it's only at Chris Simon Drive that municipal property and our right-of-way starts.
Oh, okay, well, that'll help us with what the airport does too, because they do the ditches, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. And that will help us with that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Alex, I just wanted to mention my thoughts were I think this is the opposite of downloading responsibilities. This is uploading responsibilities back to the province. So great job. I think this is an innovative recommendation, and thank you very much. Item number 7.1 to 7.5 are monthly reports from our team here at the municipality. Does any member of council have any questions or comments for staff based on the material received?
Just a minute. Melanie, could I ask you a question?
Councillor Hatfield, did you want to, first question, if you can address me as Mayor or Madam Mayor, that would be great. But certainly.
Madam, okay. Now, all the reports we get, we are to read them and then come to council and not talk about them, or not get the guy to explain it again?
That was something that we had agreed to. Yes, we had agreed to at I think 2 councils ago, or a couple of councils ago. Maury, please correct me. Please remind me. But we had agreed that we'd receive monthly reports and council would have an opportunity to ask questions on any information that they had read.
So they'll not explain anything anymore?
Correct. Maury, did you want to speak to that? Speak to the process that we had agreed upon?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We started doing monthly reports consistently, I believe, in May or June. And it does take a fair amount of the council meeting to go through these reports. So we did it the first round and then made the recommendation that we share the reports, council read them, and at the meetings come to staff with questions. So just to clarify Councillor Hatfield's question, I think the intention was that council would read them and then come to the meeting with questions that staff would absolutely respond to and engage in discussion with council. It wasn't intended to limit discussion, but to help keep council meetings to a reasonable amount of time. So council can certainly change that, unofficial procedure, Mayor, if you want to discuss with council, but it was staff's recommendation that council read ahead, and then absolutely we'd love to discuss any matter that council would like further information on.
Could I say one more thing there, Pilon?
Certainly, Councillor Hatfield.
If we are to do what you suggested, I'm sorry, I honestly don't remember agreeing to that, then we're going to have reports by Friday at 5.
Absolutely.
Because I didn't get a chance to read Alex's report on the ice until I sat down tonight, and I still never had time to read it.
Okay. Well, we'll take that into consideration. I think the only addenda to this report was the CAO report, which was uploaded today, but we can certainly receive your comments and take them into consideration for the future.
Good.
Yeah, Mayor, and just to clarify on a point, my monthly report was late and was uploaded on Monday, but Councillor Hatfield's referring to an addenda, not a monthly report that was added today dealing with the recommendation from staff to amend the arena ice use policy. And that was added today, is not a monthly report, but the point is well taken. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you for
so
the clarification.
we will be getting the reports by Friday?
Yes.
Thank you.
Councillor Hoffman, do you have any questions, comments?
I have a question for Becca. Did you find out about the left-hand turn at the?
I did. Yes, I looked into our engineering design drawing. So what Councillor Hoffman is referring to is there used to be a protected left if you're going, I guess, southbound on Broadway. If you're to turn left to go onto Highway 101 out towards Hawk Junction, there used to be a protected left. Absolutely, there was. But with the new design of that intersection in particular, that protected left was removed, and that's where those jut outs were added for the sidewalk corners there. So there's no longer a protected left. So if someone is turning left, traffic behind them is expected to stop.
No, I think maybe this guy was thinking about when you're coming up from the mission, right there when you come up there and then you're sitting there going, okay, somebody wants to turn left to go up to 3rd Avenue, and there's nothing there. And so then people are sitting there going, what do I do? And there's somebody coming down and somebody behind this guy. And I think they don't know what they're supposed to do. And so I think that's where they're looking for a left-hand signal for a turn, like a lane that says, okay, you can turn here.
Yeah, there isn't one there. So again, traffic behind
When I
someone turning
was
left.
looking
not an
again
intersection.
this morning when I was walking, because we have that middle lane that comes all the way up, and then right before the intersection, it ends. And I thought, okay, now some way it could tell people that are going up that this is a turning lane, and just as they get to that intersection, there's the arrow that tells them to go up 3rd Avenue. Is that what street it is, by the church? You know, because I think that is the problem. People don't know where to go when they're coming up there.
I'm relatively new to town, so that design was implemented before I was here, but my understanding is that there was not a protected left there and that it was a double lane. So, yeah.
Councillor Hoffman, do you have a specific question or?
Well, can that be looked into, or look at it? And because I don't know, I haven't had an issue with it, but I've had people come to me and say, "Hey, why isn't there a left-hand turn lane there?"
Mayor, respond with the acting director, and to Councillor Hoffman's concerns. Staff will absolutely investigate. It may just require some new painting of lines on the road as one solution. As the acting director saying, there is only one lane there. There is no left-hand turning lane. If there was any paint markings to be put, it would be an arrow to go straight left or right. It is one lane, so people are expected to stop. There isn't signage to say as such, but to ensure that our community is aware of how that road operates, staff will review if there is certain signage or paint markings or anything we can do to make sure that the community understands the road design. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Cannon?
Couple of questions for you, Rebecca. You say in your landfill operations, repairs to the BOMAG machine?
Yeah, so the BOMAG machine is that big yellow machine with the little punchers and the roller in the front. It's called a sheep foot. It compacts all the garbage. So we have had some ongoing issues with the engine overheating. We have a new mechanic on staff. We are diligently working. We've replaced filters. We have SMS equipment from Timmins, who is a BOMAG dealer. They've come and they've taken a look at sensors and things like that. So we're just trying to diagnose issues at this point as to why that machine seems to run for a few hours and then seems to give up. So at this current time, we're looking at flushing the rad and giving it everything inside a nice clean start, and hopefully that'll help with the whole overheating issue.
Okay, can I ask?
You certainly can. Go ahead.
And you say that 2 steel bins were taken away.
Yeah, so we collect steel at the landfill. People bring all kinds of metal stuff. 2 of those bins were filled to the brim this past month, and we had them both taken away. I just thought that was an interesting operational point.
The first time?
Yeah, they've been filling up faster than ever. So it's been really interesting to see how people have been using the bins at the landfill. And I think, the way the current design is set up, and I think it is encouraging people to start to think about how they dispose of their waste. So it's been pretty good.
Perfect. And last question. You say that the new vehicle where is it? The one that has to be the roll-off truck.
Mm-hmm.
We need emissions test in this area?
Yes. So all large diesel trucks need to have emissions tests done to pass their safeties. And that's part of getting it licensed and plated. So the emissions test, we have it scheduled. We're just waiting for the emissions test team to come up and do that. And then we're going to be road worthy, and we can drive the machine down to the landfill, and we can start hauling our bins ourselves instead of having outside contractors assist us with that for the time being.
Perfect. Thanks.
I have a non-question.
Go ahead, Councillor Hoffman.
This is for Alec. I was down at the Scenic High Falls.
Yep.
Went into the can and shut the door. There was light. So, and I thought, where the hell's the light coming from? And then I saw you had it put right by the toilet. And it works. And well, it was still there the other day.
So, sorry. So it's a bit of a silly thing. We specified to build an exact copy of the Roses Beach washrooms that we just built down there. It did it exactly the same. Nobody noticed, including myself, and it's my responsibility, that up in the roof there wasn't any panels cut. So we installed some temporary solar lighting. It got ripped off 3 times. So those were much cheaper little options to just bolt to the side of the wall instead of something. And so far they're there, but we will be cutting panels into the top, A, for ventilation, and B, because it's just a much better light. So.
The original solar light.
The original solar, the sun.
Councillor Opato.
This person of concern, I know there's no left-hand turn lane and stuff. He's more wondering why there isn't a center line or whatever. Because if you're heading towards Hawk and someone's coming up Broadway Avenue, how far over do you go that this person still got room to get around you and you still make your left-hand turn? There's nothing saying where he should stop. He's worried that some person's going to be so far over, the transport's coming into town, and they're going to have a head-on because there's nothing marked right there where the center of the road is.
You mean in the center, like in the intersection where it's kind of coming around the bend?
Yeah, like
that...
you're going down Broadway Avenue and you want to head out to Hawk. There's no line there at all.
Right. So the thing is with single lanes is that if you are turning left, traffic behind you is to stop.
No, he's not worried about that. He's worried about people going up to town now. So you're sitting there going to hang your left, but if you're over too far, the guy heading uptown has to stop.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, well, we can talk to line painting contractors to have the line extended. Absolutely, and that would help delineate the lane.
Make up that. Yeah, he's just saying he knows there's one lane, but people do hog other people's lanes. He said he'd hate to see some lady sitting there and the transport's coming up at 50 kilometers an hour and he has nowhere to go.
No, definitely, for sure. So yeah, we can definitely look into line painting options in that intersection for sure.
Okay. In the Bull Mag, didn't we put a motor in it last year?
We did, and that is no longer the problem. We are currently diagnosing why that engine is overheating. So we believe it's a radiator issue. And with that, I have ordered degreaser and radiator cleaner. And so we're just waiting for that to come in. And then we can give the rat a good wash.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Opato. Councillor Hatfield?
No, I don't have any comments at this time.
We lost your visual. Your camera turned off. But
Hit the wrong button. Thank you.
Councillor Cannon, go ahead.
Rebecca, you say at the landfill, there's some deficiencies that you're addressing.
Yeah, so one of those things that we walked through with the engineer was that currently in the new section where you're sort of organized with the bins on the right-hand side, as you come around the bend to the left, the hill to go up to where all the brush and stuff was traditionally kept and is going to be kept again, that hill is quite steep. We do have concerns, especially in the winter time, with people making that hill. So we've worked out with the engineer an alternative design where the laneway to go up that hill will actually sort of follow along the bend at a more gradual slope and be protected again with some of those extra Lego pieces that we have, so that way it sort of creates a more gradual roadway, a much safer option for traffic instead of trying to slip up and down that really steep hill that we have right now. So that's just one of them. The other one is the current top layer of block. Just from resident feedback, user feedback, it's quite high. It's hard for people to lift their garbage up and over. So what we're looking at right now is the ability to remove that top layer, but that'll drop the block height pretty low and then sort of creates an alternative hazard of people going over the edge. So we've worked out an option with the engineer to cast concrete on top. So in that way, it's sort of a midpoint of not too high, not too low, just right, so that we don't have to install, many more guardrails and things like that. In this way, hopefully it'll solve the operational issue that the users have of trying to get, their big heavy bags up and over the block and then into the bin. So we're trying to find the Goldilocks solution here of getting the right height.
Perfect. And one more?
Certainly. One more and then we'll move on.
Alex, you said that the docks this year weren't sold out. Is that because of the price maybe? Or what did...
That's a great question. I don't know why.
I found that strange.
Yes, I don't know why the docks weren't sold out. I didn't have any particular comments. Like, it's not like we had anybody call and say, "Oh yeah, no, I'm not buying a dock at that price," and hang up on us. I should have checked before coming here. I'm not sure what the attendance of the Derby was like and if it was down in a corresponding manner or not. I don't know the answer to that. But it was just notable to me because that's the first time in my experience that we haven't had every dock sold for that weekend in particular. So how about I try and find out why and get back to you on that, please?
Yeah, I just wondered because when you said that they weren't sold out, there wasn't a down in attendance. I just wondered if there was a reason maybe people complained that the price was too high, or they...
The only complaints I got were about the washroom situation. That's the only complaints that I got about the marina, this summer essentially, or at that time period specifically.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we will now move on to new business 8.1, highlights of the Associations of Municipalities of Ontario conference. So I did provide council with a written memo summarizing the highlights of the events of my recent trip to AMO. The AMO conference was held in London from August 20th to the 23rd. It was a fantastic event. I'm really glad that I was able to go in place of Councillor Pato. A few different things that I wanted to make note of was the support for housing. I think Council has now heard me speak about it a few times, but the Premier announced the new Ontario Building Faster Fund, which is a $2.5 billion initiative to support housing needs for municipalities. The fund is tailored to Ontario's large urban centres, but the Premier did commit to work with small communities to ensure that our communities are not missed. I have noted that smaller communities, 10% of the fund is being earmarked for small communities, which means communities of 100,000 people or less. So we're, I guess, really, really small. Eligibility requirements include a council endorsed pledge to meet housing targets. And I have reviewed a number of council or housing targets with Maury, and all of them indicate an actual number of houses that cities are looking to build. So I do recommend that we do that council does endorse a housing pledge with a specific number, which is a little bit intimidating considering the number of houses that have been built in Wawa, but I think we need to be brave with our housing pledge. Connecting Ontario, I attended an event held by the Ministry of Infrastructure and Infrastructure Ontario, updating Ontario's broadband rollout. So as I've spoke about in the past, Wawa has been deemed ineligible for this program because we have the minimum requirements of 50/10. So we will, based on our service today, which is a wireless service from Shaw, we will not be receiving fiber to the home fiber deployment, which to me is absolutely unacceptable. And I believe that we do need to advocate and lobby the province to review this eligibility requirement, because as we all know and experience on a daily basis, our fiber network and our connectivity is spotty, it's unsustainable, it's not great. It certainly affects every single aspect of our business, certainly our economic development. It'll affect the way we recruit doctors, it'll affect our attraction and retention of families. So I think this is something that council really needs to pay attention to. Improvements to public health funding. I also noted in here, Dr. Liu also spoke to it. There were changes announced to how public health units will be funded, supported, and directed. And it includes reverting back to the 75 provincial and 25 municipal cost sharing ratio. So that's a good news story for us because there's a little bit of a cost saving in budget. So that's good. Ministers' Forum discussion at AMO. This was the most exciting event at AMO, where all the ministers they get up on the stage, and any elected official is invited to stand up and ask a question. So it's a question and answer period with all the ministers, and so it was exciting. I did not ask a question, but I promised next time I'd come prepared and ask a question. Unveiling of the Healthy Democracy Project. So I was very proud to unveil AMO's Healthy Democracy Project. As council knows, I do sit on that committee. I have listed the objectives of the Healthy Democracy Committee, but promotional video was debuted just prior to the premier coming out to speak. So the room was packed. About 2,000 people were in attendance, and it was also shown for a second time before the Ministers' Forum the following day. So we did get a lot of coverage, and Wawa was a little spotlight was shown on Wawa, so it was really fun. And I was hoping that we could play the video for council in case we haven't seen it. It's very short. AMO. They sent the same videographer to Wawa. You had the link on that once. If you just press control and click on the link. click control and then press it. Thank you, Councillor Hoffman. So this video was like I said, it was circulated throughout the AMO conference, and I was really proud to represent Wawa in that way. I did come back to council with a few recommendations and action items. One was certainly to direct staff to investigate the new Ontario Building Faster Fund and determine best how the municipality can be included in the funding, including amending the Wawa Housing Action Plan to include a council-endorsed pledge that clearly sets out reasonable housing targets and demonstrate our commitment to build homes faster. The second recommendation or action item I wanted to bring to council was I'm requesting that council support a request to appoint me as a champion and advocate, supported by staff, to work with the MOI, Ministry of Infrastructure, to investigate our concerns that Wawa is not eligible to be included in the ACIP program. And the third is that Mayor, Council, CAO, and perhaps one interested member of council attend the AMO 2024 conference. It'll be held in Ottawa, August 18th to 21st. Information about the conference hotel room block will be made available this fall, so very shortly. Council will remember that the reason why only one person went this year was because we had trouble securing hotel rooms and registration because the conference booked up so fast. So those are my three recommendations or action items. I have asked staff to make a resolution for each of them and put on the corporate meeting for next meeting for discussion. So that is my report for council for AMO. Is there any questions or comments? Councillor Hatfield?
No, I'm fine, thank you. The film you were going to show was the one that we got already?
Yes, it was the film that Maura had just put up on the screen.
It went on the screen and you watched it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, right now?
Yes.
'Cause I
Just
did-
now.
I didn't have that.
Oh.
I just want you to know.
Okay.
Sorry, Counselor, did you just see the PowerPoint presentation with the link? Did you not actually see the video?
I seen the video before, but tonight the video didn't play on my iPad. So I don't know if anybody else in town was watching and got it.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your feedback. So with that said, we'll move on. If there's no other questions or comments, we'll move on to item 8.2, the CAO memo for deputy mayor schedule to be revised. The floor is yours, Maureen.
Thank you, Mayor. Presented to council tonight is the need for council to appoint a deputy mayor for the period November 15th, 2023 to November 14th, 2024. I've attached a chart at the previous resolution approved by council for the deputy mayor rotation, and change to that is required. There are many ways council can fulfill the vacancy for the next term or the next year. There's lots of options. I didn't list them all, but to give council some idea, they could extend the existing deputy mayor's appointment for another year. Council could vote amongst themselves of those willing to serve who might want to serve in the next year. Or you could select one member of council to serve as deputy mayor for the remainder of council terms. There are other options. You could each share the next year, 4 months at a time. Lots of options. And a council resolution would be required to be approved at the next regular meeting, or at least a regular meeting before November 14th.
Thank you very much. So I'll open the floor. I'll start with Councillor Hoffman. Do you have a particular preference on how to handle this situation?
Could do it, split it between the three of us.
Okay. Did you have an...
Take the middle.
You'll take the middle? Councillor Hoffman, I think we are in the middle.
Oh, no, this is for 24.
Oh, then that's the next one. Okay, perfect. Councillor Ken, did you have a preference on how you wanted to see it?
I don't have a preference. I mean, if one of the counselors want to do the whole rest of the term, like council's term, the next 3 years, I think they should be given the option if anybody's interested, or they can do it. They want to do 3 months at a time, or they want to
4 months.
split up my year. 4 months, sorry, wasn't good at math.
Okay, thank you. So far, the only option we have is that Councillor Hoffman wants to do the middle of the year, which I think is 2024 to 2025. Councillor Opato, do you have a preference, or are you willing to...
Either extend who's doing it now or have someone do the whole term.
Would you like to do the whole term?
No.
Okay. Would you like to be available to do 2025 to 2026? Or
At the present time, no.
okay. So you don't want to you're not available to do the date that is set on the current schedule?
No.
Okay. So Councillor Hatfield and Councillor Hoffman, would you at this point, you are the only two remaining councillors that have expressed an interest in serving as deputy mayor. May I make a suggestion that
Mayor Pilon, did you want me to comment?
Yeah, I was going to make a suggestion, but if you want, you can comment first.
Go ahead with your suggestion first.
I was going to make a suggestion that for the remainder of the terms, you stagger your terms of you can either stagger them or you can continue on, Councillor Hatfield, until 2024, 2025, at which case Councillor Hoffman can take the last 2 terms. You can do the front end basically, and Councillor Hoffman can do the back end.
I can't make a decision that quick tonight, but I do know that we were talking at one time, and like 4 months at a time is nice because you might only get one meeting or one thing you have to do, but a whole year at a time is like I've had to do a few things, and I don't mind because I love going to different things in Wawa, and I didn't mind running a couple of meetings, but the whole year it's a lot of responsibility, especially when they ask you to do something that's very important to the people and you can't do it. I find it difficult, and I just hate saying no. But we're not going to make a decision until the next meeting. Am I understanding that?
We don't have to make a decision until November 14th, so we do have a little bit of time.
Okay.
And because based on your comments, the suggestion to stagger terms, so you would be relieved of your deputy mayor November 15th, and Councillor Hoffman can take it, and then you would be appointed deputy mayor again in 2024.
Yeah, what I'm saying, Mayor Pilon, is the two other councillors might commit to a 4-month stint. I'm not sure, but
I'm seeing shaking heads no.
Okay, that's fine. That's not a problem. Jim, would you be interested in 4 months at a time? Joe, would you be interested in that?
Councillor Opato said no.
Okay, Jim, would you be interested at 4 months at a time?
Between you and me, Mitch.
Well, okay, like, do we have to answer you tonight, Mayor Pilon?
No, you don't have to make an answer tonight. We do need an answer before November 15th. So we have to pass a resolution the meeting prior to that.
Okay.
So October 19th might be the date. I
Yeah.
don't have a calendar in front of me.
Yeah,
But I will take the time to note that I will not be here for the next meeting.
Okay.
So
well, I'm going to be back. Okay, so we can just leave it at that, and we'll talk some more. I'm going to be home on Thursday. Hallelujah. So that'll be nice. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, perfect. So we'll table this discussion to a further date. And we'll move on to item 8.3, RFP results for the Mishpacotton Memorial Community Center Canteen. Go ahead, floor is yours.
As requested, we advertised an RFP. We had no responses, and so we are going to be operating the canteen for the 2023-24 ice season, just like last year. So this is a memo for information only because council had already directed us to do that at a previous meeting.
Great. Thank you very much, Alex. Item 8.4, amendment to ice cancellation. And I believe this amendment to ice cancellation policy is yours as well.
Yeah, so I won't take credit because Stacy did a great job on a lot of the wording and technicalities and dealing with user groups. But essentially what we're looking for as a recommendation to council is an update to the ice use policy, specifically around the cancellations of the ice. We had a lot of cancellations last year and a lot of short notice cancellations last year compared to other years, excepting COVID, obviously. And so what we're looking to do is to make sure that user groups lock in the ice time that they're actually looking for and booking at the start of the season, and not have so many of those cancellations, because they have a lot of operational effects. They have a lot of financial effects on us as well when we're expecting a certain amount of revenue and we're not able to secure that. So essentially what we're saying is, with the exception of unreasonable circumstances, that ice users need to give us more than 24 hours notice for a cancellation. So 7 days notice for a free cancellation, and between 7 and 24 hours, they shall pay an administrative fee to cancel the ice. So, the week before is okay. We can schedule around that. But within a certain week when the schedule's already ready, it takes a lot of administrative time to republish schedules and change things around. We also lose the opportunity to sell that ice to another user group who are typically interested in that. So essentially what we're looking for is a small amendment to the cancellation section of the ice policy that says that, and then we've expanded that for tournaments because of course tournaments require so much more planning. We need some additional time for a tournament to be canceled. There are exceptions to these that are discretionary. So obviously, a massive snowstorm that shuts everything down is not something that we're going to penalize user groups for. But we're looking to make sure that people are actually using the ice that they're asking for and not holding on to it when other user groups may want to use that ice.
Thank you very much, Alex. Councillor Hoffman, do you have any questions or comments?
So what user groups are canceling on you on short notice? Is it like pickup people or actual
user groups?
actual-
Yeah. So this doesn't count towards pickup folks at all. We only have 1 or 2 users that would be considered pickup. Everybody else signs an ice use contract for a very specific period of time. And that's kind of what we're looking to do is when I started, we didn't really have any pickup people. They were all user groups on contracts. And now we have 2, and we might have a 3rd person coming in who aren't looking for ice on a regular basis, but they are those irregular users who, are looking to know a couple days out whether they can get ice or not. So this is a sort of policy that encourages user groups to give us more time than we normally have to tell us if they're not going to be there, which we can then sell that ice to another user who would be interested in having it.
Councillor Cannon? Sorry, can I ask you to comment on?
I agree with you. It needs to be amended because people have to learn that there's going to be a fee if they're going to give you, short notice that they're going to cancel. I mean, and like you said in your report, under certain circumstances, you can look at if they had to cancel for certain reasons, then you'll look at whether you're going to charge them or not.
Yep.
So I agree.
Thank you.
Councillor Rapato?
It should have been amended a while ago. It's a good thing that you did it.
Thanks.
Councillor Hatfield?
I don't understand anybody canceling at the last minute and expecting not to be penalized. I was in hockey 20 years and we never did that. And we used to have 12-team tournaments on a weekend. Jim was very verbal on what he wanted us to do, and we did it. Anyway, I don't think there's a problem with that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I also agree. I think this is standard operating procedure, and please give our thanks to Stacy for putting together a good memo, and thank you. We will now look at our next meeting date of Tuesday, October 3rd, 2023, as there are no in-camera sessions and no business arising from closed session. And we will move to adjourn at 8:37 p.m. May I please have a mover? Councillor Hoffman, seconder. Councillor Rapato, all in favor? Carried. And we will take 1 or 2 minutes to move over to our regular council agenda. Councillor Hoffman and Councillor Rapato. Councillor Hatfield, just making a note that your camera is off. I'm not sure if that's purposeful. You're on mute if you're talking to us.
I'm sorry. No, I thought you gave us a couple of minutes and I was going to run upstairs and get something, but that's okay. I can stay.
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, so we will call to this meeting to order and note the members present at 8:38 p.m. Item number 2, disclosure of pecuniary interest. Hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to approval of the agenda.
Moved by Councillor Hoffman, seconded by Councillor Cannon, resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of council scheduled for Tuesday, September 19th, 2023 be approved as presented.
All in favor? Carried. There are no delegations or presentations, so we'll move on to announcements of giving of notice. Does any council member of council have an announcement that they'd like to share?
Seeing none, we'll move on to the adoption of minutes. 6.1.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Ken, second by Councillor Pato. Resolved that the following minutes of the meeting of council be adopted as presented. Minutes of a regular meeting of council held on Tuesday, September 5th, 2023, as contained on pages 1 to 8, inclusive of the minute book. Minutes of a regular meeting of council held on Thursday, September 7th, 2023, as contained on pages 1 to 3, inclusive of the minute book.
All in favor? Carried. Item number 7, correspondence. There are 4 items of correspondence. Maury, is there any items of correspondence that you'd like us to pay particular attention to?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. For council, item 7.2 in particular is a recent piece of correspondence from the Ministry of Solicitor General. It's dealing with the response back to the region's proposal that was put forward to the Solicitor General regarding the establishment of a Superior East Regional OPP Detachment Board. The minister is saying to council that they've looked at our proposal and have put forward to cabinet that there be 5 councillors appointed for the Superior East Detachment area to sit on a new regional detachment board. As I interpret the correspondence, that means each member municipality, which includes Chapleau, Dubreuilville, Hornepayne, White River, and Wawa, each municipality will appoint 1 council member to sit on the new regional detachment board. In addition to that, there was a requirement in the legislation that there be an opportunity for community representation. So 2 members will be appointed to sit the seats as community representatives. Now, it's not clear in the letter, and so I'm not sure exactly how that process will occur, but I assume based on conversations that the region as a whole and those members who sit on the board would pick those 2 community representatives from the entire region through a process established by the board. So there is also going to be, I don't have the correspondence in front of me, but I think it was 1 provincial appointee, 2 provincial appointees that the province will appoint to the board. So that is legislation that was passed some time ago, but they are indicating in the letter to council that the regional detachment board would be put in place sometime in the spring of 2024. So what that means for this council is that when this does happen, the local Wawa police board that Councillor Jim Apato sits on would be disbanded. So I think that's of note to council. Mayor, perhaps you would like to speak to item 7.3 as it's an invitation to you, or I can speak to it.
Feel free.
I don't have the correspondence in front of me.
Oh, I can speak to it. I received an invitation from AMO inviting me to join AMO's Indigenous Advisory Council. The chair of the Indigenous Advisory Council is Mayor Wendy Landry, the mayor of Chinois, and I graciously was honored to receive the invitation and did accept the invitation. And I'm very proud to represent Indigenous people in Ontario, but certainly again proud to represent the municipality of Wawa on this provincial board.
Thank you for your covering. And if I may, one last note of interest for council is item 7.4, recent letter received from the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing. Now it is addressed to the head of council, and it's basically asking municipal councils to respond to a survey questionnaire, to read the housing task report, and to prioritize the top 5 recommendations made in that report, how this municipality, through the mayor, would rank those recommendations in terms of priorities of best benefit to the community. So the deadline date, I believe, is October 16th. And so, Mayor, I can add this to a future corporate meeting, or because you will be absent at the next meeting, you can advise council in the future how you might want to go about getting input on this matter and submitting the report, because the next meeting, October 19th, would be past the deadline. So I can put it on as corporate, and you could share your response through an email.
Certainly, if we can put it on the corporate and we can prioritize responses and I can respond. As always, council is certainly, able to reach out directly, but I think if we have that discussion, open and transparent session, I think that's the way to proceed.
Thank you.
Mayor
And then,
Pino, I'm sorry, Maury, I could I ask a question, Mayor Pino?
Certainly. Go
Well,
ahead,
it's
Councillor
not a
Hatfield.
question, it's just, we jumped from 7.3 to 7.4 so fast. I really think it's important to congratulate you, Mayor Pilon, on getting on the board, and having a representative from our small town is, I think it's pretty neat, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hatfield. I appreciate your comments. I'm excited as well. Councillor Kennan?
Where can we get the recommendations for the task force? Where can we read that?
thank you. You can search online, but I will send council a link in an email if you have no objection, because if you searched in your Google search bar, Housing Affordability Task Force recommendations, you can find it that way as well. But to make it simple, I will send everyone a link, and any councillor who would like, I'm happy to have a printed copy put in anyone's mailbox.
Okay, thanks.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. And the last item I was going to share was a note that we had the majority of council respond to the request from staff for a special council meeting next Tuesday, September 26th. It's in the meeting list at 6:30 p.m. And basically the purpose of that meeting is for our treasurer and our directors to present the 2024 capital budget in draft form, of course, to council to hear about, ask questions, review, and then we will open it up for public comment. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. We'll now move on to item number 8, consent agenda. 8.1, approval of the consent agenda.
Moved by Councillor Hoffman, second by Councillor Cannon, resolved that the item listed under, consent agenda 8.2 to 8.4 be approved as recommended.
All in favor? Carried. Item number 2, receive committee board meeting minutes.
Those were part of the consent agenda. We are both learning together, Mayor. You passed the consent agenda and then you moved to 9.
And you tell me every single time. I'm so sorry. By 2024, we'll understand. Staff reports, 9.1.
Moved by Councillor Cannon, second by Councillor Pato, resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Wawa does hereby receive the following staff reports, a copy of which are attached here too. A, Protective Services Department, August 23 monthly report. B, Finance Department, August 23 monthly report. Infrastructure Services Department, August 23 monthly report. Community Services and Tourism Department, August monthly report. CO Corporate Services Department, July and August monthly report. AP 2023-09, Drill Rig Monument, Engineering Recommendations. G, AP Memo, RFP results for Mitch-Picot Memorial Community Center Canteen. H, CAO Memo, Deputy Mayor's Schedule Revised, and AP 2023-10, Tourist Information Center, Highway Corridor Maintenance.
All in favor? Carried. Item number 10, business arising out of previous meeting, 10.1.
Moved by Councillor Cannon, second by Councillor Hoffman. Whereas the Drill Rig Monument on Broadway Avenue has been monitored since 2021 by municipal staff for its structural integrity, and whereas in 2023 the lien had noticeably changed and Talek Engineering was hired to prepare a report on the results of inspections and make recommendations, and whereas 4 options were provided to council and staff report AP 2023-09, which option number 2 to remove the drill rig monument was recommended, therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Wawa does hereby support staff's recommendation and direct staff to hire a contractor to remove the drill rig and sell the material for scrap.
I don't think so.
So as I mentioned,
we
this is
thought-
on and council is free to vote against.
Correct. Okay. So we're just tabling it. And then, so it's on the table. So I believe that the direction is that we decline and we would like to propose a new resolution.
Yes, but you should all vote on this resolution as presented. So even if it's a not in favor vote.
Can we vote at once, or do you need a recorded vote?
You can say all in favor, all opposed.
All opposed? Carried.
That's all required tonight.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your guidance on that. There is no new business. There is no notice of motion. Item 13, bylaws.
Moved by
13.1.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Moved by Councillor Hoffman, seconded by Councillor Cannon, resolved that the following bylaws be introduced and read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed, and that the mayor and clerk do sign and seal the same, any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding. Bylaw number 362923 to confirm the proceedings of council at its meetings held on the 7th and 19th day of September 2023. Bylaw number 363023 to authorize the corporation of the municipality of Wawa to enter into an agreement with Labby Media Incorporated for the lease of the 96 Broadway Avenue upper floor for radio station. Bylaw number 363123 to authorize the corporation of the municipality of Wawa to enter into a lease agreement with Quatra SCS Limited respecting the lease of land situated at 96 Broadway Avenue, Wawa, Ontario. And bylaw number 363223 to enter into a land use agreement with Woodland Masonic Hall Incorporated, owner of property located on Magpie Avenue, to maintain and use a portion of land for an existing roadway and for fixing an annual fee for such privilege.
All in favor? Approved. Item number 14, closed session, 14.1.
Moved by Councillor Cannon, seconded by Councillor Hoffman, resolved that this committee proceeding camera at 8:52 p.m. in order to address the following matters pertaining to 14.2 is a land issue, one item regarding sale of property. It's related to a section of the Municipal Act regarding a proposed or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. Municipal Act Section 239, Section 2C. 14.3 is a legal matter regarding a potential land purchase. Is under the Municipal Act, it is under Section 239 2C, dealing with the pending acquisition or disposition of land. And finally, 14.4, it's a legal matter relating to a statement of claim, and it's related to a litigation or potential litigation, including matters before tribunals affecting the municipality, and it is Section 2392E of the Municipal Act.
All in favor? Carried. And if
we're going to move Councillor Hatfield like our last meeting, and we're just going to move into a room, a breakout room if we hold for the in-camera. But Councillor Rapato had his hand up. Sorry, Mayor.
perfect. Councillor Rapato, did you have a question?
Oh.
So Councillor Hatfield, if I think we'll have a few minutes while we move in. If you want to stretch your legs or take a break. Yeah, we're going to stay here because I think we're okay. So item 15, return to open session. 15.1. All in favor? Carried. There's no business arising from closed session, so we'll move on to the next meeting date, which is Tuesday, October 3rd, 2023. And we will move to adjourn at 9:35 p.m. All in favor?